My number 12 says f of x equals, I can't read it, x squared minus 6x minus 7 divided by x squared minus 3x minus 4. And I am supposed to find the vertical asymptotes, horizontal asymptotes, x-intercepts, and y-intercepts. All right, let's start with vertical asymptotes. How do I find vertical asymptotes? How do I find vertical asymptotes? Come on, guys. Most of you have done this homework. Oh, look, we got that.
You set the denominator equal to 0.
Yeah, you take your denominator, you set it equal to 0. X squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. And then what? If it factors, factor it. If not, use your quadratic formula. And if you don't see how it factors, you can use your quadratic formula. This factors into x minus 4 times x plus 1 equals 0. Oops, forgot to turn the C. So this gives me x minus 4 equals 0. This gives me x plus 1 equals 0. So here I will get x equals 4. Here I'll get x equals negative 1. Am I done? No, why not? Because this is only going to be a vertical asymptote if the value of x does not make my numerator 0. So I have to plug it back in. So I'm going to go over here and plug in 4 into my numerator. So I'll have 4 squared minus 6 times 4 minus 7. Well, let's see, that's 16 minus 24 minus 7, that's not 0. Everybody agree that's not 0? So that means this one is good. This one is a good one. If I plug in negative 1, I get negative 1 squared minus 6 times negative 1 minus 7, well, that's 1 plus 6, which is 7 minus 7 equals 0. That means this is no good. So there's only one vertical asymptote. No, this is where the bottom is 0. Because if it makes both the numerator and the denominator 0, it's not a vertical asymptote. If it does that at the same degree, then it's something called a hole. And instead of heading off to infinity and down to negative infinity, it goes up, skips over, and then continues on the other side. So you'll see a graph with a little space in between it. And you can't really see the space if you graph this on your calculator. It's too small.
When you plug it in, though, for like the table, it gives you
Right, it'll give you the break. It'll give you an undefined or something at that spot. What does it say? In the table at that spot.
I think it might give you an answer error.
No, it should give you an error because it makes your denominator 0, so that definitely can't happen. If it gives you an answer, then it's doing something wrong. All right, so now we've got that. What do we do next? What was next on that thing? It's horizontal asymptotes, isn't it? How do I find a horizontal asymptote? Has to do with x's. As x goes to infinity, what happens to my function? Well, only the big stuff is important. What's the big stuff up here? X squared, because as we get really big, you know, like into the trillions, a trillion times a trillion is going to be a whole lot bigger than 6 times a trillion, so that's not going to do much. And 7 is definitely going to do nothing. What's important on the bottom? X squared. So this simplifies to 1. Is that a number? Yeah, it's 1. So my horizontal asymptote is y equals 1. My horizontal asymptote always has to be a horizontal line. You will either have y equals a number, or you can get y equals 0 if it turns out when you start having, when you simplify this, there's still an x there, but it's down here in the denominator. When you start making big numbers in your denominator, when you divide something small by something really big, you get stuff that's really small. Little small pieces. What's the next part? X-intercepts, I think?
Good question. So what would we put for the
get down to the horizontal line. And you are expected to write this and this part and whatever goes in there.
I put, on the written work, I did, there's an x squared and then the x's. I put them all together. So I got x cubed. Is that right?
You can't put together an x squared and an x and get an x cubed.
Well, you'll see it.
All right. So I'll let you know what comes out. X-intercepts, how do I find them? So y equals 0. So I've got 0 equals x squared minus 6x minus 7 divided by x squared minus 3x minus 4. All right, so what do? Step 1. Cross multiply. Put a 1 under here. When I multiply the 0 times x squared minus 3x minus 4, what do I get? 0. When I multiply the 1 by x squared minus 6x minus 7, what do I get? X squared minus 6x minus 7. And what was your question, Scott?
Oh, Kevin, can you just
Kevin, sorry.
take the top part? Can you just skip that step?
No, you cannot.
Right.
You have to have the set make y equal to 0 step in there. So what do I do now? Okay, factors, I get x minus 7 times x plus 1. So that's equal to 0, and then so that means x minus 7 equals 0, or x plus 1 equals 0. This gives me x equals 7. This gives me x equals negative 1. So now what?
Put it in the denominator.
Yeah, you need to make sure neither of these makes your denominator 0. We already know what makes our denominator 0. What was it? 4, negative 1. So what does that tell me about my negative 1? It cannot make x-intercept because it made my denominator equal to 0. I found that out over here. So my only x-intercept happens when x equals 7. So how do I write that? 7 comma 0. And y-intercepts you guys should be doing okay with. I know some people have a little problem multiplying in these. Several people. Multiplying got turned into addition somewhere along the way. How do I find y-intercepts? I plug in 0 for x, and then I figure out what y must be at that point and write it as a point. I'm not going to bother to do that part because I think you can all handle it.